Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today I'm going to be doing a Ghostrick deck profile. So it has been a long time since I updated my Ghostricks because of Master Rule 4. It really kind of, in my opinion, killed the deck, and now with Master Rule 5 being announced, and a couple of cards coming off the ban list, which are super spicy techs in here, which you guys are going to have to guess, we made the deck really interesting. So you're either going to win or make your opponent have a really bad time playing against it. So without further ado, guys, let's get straight on this. But before we do, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Hit that bell there so you guys can become a card notification squad. Definitely check out the Patreon and the Ko-Fi down in the description. And let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're playing just 2 copies of Ghostrick Skeleton. So Ghostrick Skeleton is kind of like the main card of the deck. I'm kind of more focusing on the Skeleton Mill build, but it cannot be normal summoned unless you control a Ghostrick monster, and then once per turn you can change all the Ghostrick monsters share this ability. That they cannot be normal summoned unless you control a Ghostrick monster, and then once per turn you can change this card into face down defense position. And then when this card is flipped face up, they gain additional ability. So we're just going to go for the rest of the video for the additional abilities. So this one's particular ability is that you banish cards from the top of your opponent's deck face down up to the number of Ghostrick monsters you control, which is really cool. Then we play 3 copies of Ghostrick Janshi. Ghostrick Janshi, effect is that when it's flipped face up, you can special summon a Ghostrick, or you can add a Ghostrick from your deck to your hand that is equal to the level of the number of Ghostricks you have. So if you have like 3 Ghostricks face up, including Janshi, you can add a level 3 Ghostrick monster from your deck to your hand, which is really cool. Then I play a single copy of Ghostrick Stein. Ghostrick Stein, when it's flipped face up, you can add a Ghostrick spell or trap from your deck to your hand, which is pretty good. I mean, you can add your copies of Night, and you can add Vanish, Scare, you can add any of the ones that you need, or Mansion, any of the ones that you need right then. We play a single copy of Ghostrick Doll. Ghostrick Doll is interesting. I really like the way that she plays. That she has the ability that during the end phase, you can change as many face-up monsters on the field as possible to face-down defense position. Then you can special summon a Ghostrick monster from your deck in face-down defense position, up to the number of monsters that you flip face down. With a level. So like if you flip 2, you can special summon a level 2 Ghostrick monster from your deck, which is pretty cool. Now I'm thinking about bumping her back up to 2 because of the cards that I'm playing in here, and dropping a Mary out, but it just kind of depends. I feel like she's searchable, so I can just play her as a one of, but it's an option. I play 2 copies of the new Ghostrick Fairy. Ghostrick Fairy is the newest addition to Ghostricks, and I really like the way that Fairy plays. She kind of gives you a little bit of recovery, that when she's flipped face up, you can target a Ghostrick monster in your graveyard and set that target, but banish it when it leaves the field, and then you can change face-up monsters your opponent controls to face-down defense position up to the number of set cards you control. So that really helps out with Ghostrick Knight. I really feel like she's a good 2-of in this deck, a solid 2-of, but I probably wouldn't play her at any more than 2-of. We play a single copy of Jack Frost. Jack Frost is pretty good as well because it has the ability that when an opponent's monster declares a direct attack, you can change that opponent's monster to face-down defense position, and then special summon this card from your hand in face-down defense position. I played 2 copies of Ghostrick Spectre. Spectre's my favorite for the artwork besides Skeleton, but it has the ability that if a Ghostrick monster is destroyed by your opponent's card effect or by battle, it's a really good cool effect that you can special summon this card from your hand and face down defense, and then if you do, you get to draw a card, which helps. 3 copies of Lantern. Lantern is really good in this deck. You always want to have a Lantern in hand because it's kind of like Battle Fader. It has the ability that when an opponent's monster declares a direct attack, or when a Ghostrick monster you control is targeted for an attack, you can negate the attack, and if you do, special summon this card from your hand in face-down defense. So it's really helpful to just negate those attacks. Then we play 3 copies of Ghostrick Mary. Again, I'm thinking about dropping Mary down from 3 to 2 and bumping Doll back up to 2 just so I have a little bit more versatility, but that is an option for you guys if you guys want to go that route. So that's just something that you guys could do. So that's it for the Ghostricks that we're playing in the deck. I am playing some tech monsters that we're going to go through really quickly. So the tech monsters that we're going to be playing, you guys are going to get to guess. So it is 4 monsters that we're playing. So 1 of these monsters is a 1-of, and then 3 of these monsters are a 3-of in this deck. So you guys are going to get to guess what these are, and tell me what you think down in the description, or down in the comments down below. Definitely comment and tell me what you think they are, and I'm going to reveal them in 3, 2, 1. Definitely like, comment, subscribe, guys, because I love doing this. This is a lot of fun for you guys. So the first one that we're going to be playing is a single copy of Morphing Jar. So why play Morphing Jar? Well, with Skeleton Mill, you can actually flip the Morphing Jar and then discard all the cards in your hand and then draw 5 more. So you draw out all of your spells and traps, you can set all of them and then, flip Morphing Jar and then draw 5 more cards, and plus it mills out your opponent a little bit. And then we play 3 copies of Morphing Jar number 2, which we just flipped face up. So you got to send all your monsters to the grave, or back to the deck. So Morphing Jar number 2 just went to 3. I don't understand why this went back to 3, but it went back to 3. You shuffle all monsters on the field into the deck, and then each player reveals cards from the top of their deck until they reveal the same number of monsters, and then they shuffled into the main deck. Special summon all monsters that are level 4 or lower in face down defense position, and also send any of the remaining cards to the graveyard. If you're playing against Sky Striker, this card ends them. It will end them with Sky Strikers, because they only play, I think it's normally 9 monsters in the whole deck. You will mill them out so fast, it's ridiculous. If they have a monster in the main monster zone, that's their mistake. But even if they don't, and they just have monsters that aren't shuffled back into the deck or special summoned into the deck, you still are bouncing all their monsters on their field, and you're re-putting all your monsters back on the field. So you're really going to mill your opponent out with this, and this card's a really good option in Ghostrick Skeleton Mill. I've thought about putting in Needleworm as well, but I didn't put Needleworm in this particular build, but you can if you want to. But I feel like Morphing Jar number 2 is a really, really, really powerful card that's kind of crazy to play in the Skeleton Mill build. So that's it for the monsters. Let's get into spells. Definitely try this card. It's really crazy. So now we're going to be playing a single copy of Terraforming. We don't play a lot of spells in this deck, but we play a couple. So Terraforming is just here to search our field spell. I'm just playing 3 copies of Mansion. I don't play Parade because I'm not too worried about searching that much. But what this card does is monsters cannot attack face down defense position monsters, but they can attack directly if all monsters that your opponent controls are face down, and all effect damage and battle damage inflicted monsters other than Ghostrick monsters is halved. So if your opponent attacks you directly with a 3,000 beat stick, you only take 1,500. But that's the same goes for you. If you attack your opponent with a 3,000 attack point monster, they only take 1,500. But Ghostrick monsters, they take full damage. But if you have all your opponent's monsters face down, you can swing at them directly. But the only downside of this deck is if your opponent's playing Link monsters, then you can't flip them face down, which kind of sucks. Then we play 2 copies of Swords of Concealing Light. You really only need the 2 copies of Swords of Concealing Light now with Link monsters. It's a good option, and plus if you flip face up like Morphing Jar or something like that, you can activate this after it resolves, and then your opponent can't flip the monsters that they just put face down for 2 turns, which is pretty cool. Then we play 3 copies of Called by the Grave. Called by the Grave really helps out because you don't want to deal with hand traps, especially with playing stuff like Morphing Jar, which usually your opponent's going to let the Morphing Jar go through because they want the 5 cards as well. And then the Morphing Jar number 2 really helps out with this card because your opponent might attack into the monster, Morphing Jar might trigger, they might ash the Morphing Jar, but that kind of sucks if they do, but you have Called by the Grave if they try to. So that's it for the spells. Let's get into the traps. So this deck is a little bit of a slower paced deck, so you're going to be playing 2 copies of Storming Mirror Force because you don't want to get attacked and your monsters get destroyed. And plus, this prevents your opponent from when they do attack you directly, it shuffles all the monsters, returns them all to the hand, which can be really helpful. 2 copies of Ghostrick Knight. Ghostrick Knight is super cool because when a Ghostrick monster is on the field and your opponent controls, your opponent cannot flip summon. They can't flip the monsters that you flip face down, back face up. And then when this card on your opponent's when your possession is destroyed by your opponent's card effect, your opponent cannot declare attack for the rest of the turn. So it kind of helps you out with that ability as well. We play 2 copies of Ghostrick Vanish. Vanish lets you reveal a Ghostrick in your hand, and then it also has the ability that your opponent cannot cards you control, Ghostrick monsters you control, and cards face down you control cannot be targeted or destroyed by card effects this turn. And then we play 3 copies of Ghostrick Scare, which is the best trap in the deck. You target any number of face-down defense position monsters you control and change them to face-up attack. or face up defense, and then you count the number of Ghostrick monsters that you flip face up, and then you can change the same amount of cards that you flip face up that were Ghostricks on your opponent's side of the field to face down. So you flip yours face up, you flip your opponent's face down, which is really cool to combo with Knight. And if you combo this on your opponent's turn mid-combo with something like, oh, I don't know, maybe a Morphing Jar number 2, if they have like 3 monsters on the field, you flip this face up, and then this chains to your Ghostrick Scare. After your Ghostrick Scare resolves, this shuffles all the monsters that your opponent just worked so hard to summon on the field back into the deck. And then you get to draw, or you get to flip cards off the top of your deck and special summon a whole bunch of stuff. That's really cool. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're playing 3 copies of Ghostrick Angel of Mischief. She is a win condition if you put 10 materials in her, but you're never really going to do that. But she also has the ability that you can detach a material from her to add a Ghostrick spell or trap directly from your deck to your hand. And then once per turn, you can attach a Ghostrick card from your hand to this card as material, which is pretty cool as well, but you're usually never going to get the 10 cards on her to win. So she's just kind of here as a searcher. 2 copies of Ghostrick Alucard. He lets you pop face down set cards by detaching a material to him, and then you can also use the effect, and if he's just sent to the graveyard, you can target one other Ghostrick card in your graveyard and add it back to your hand. 1 copy of Mannequin Cat. Mannequin Cat's kind of a weird card in here. It works, but it's kind of weird to summon it because you don't play that many level 2s, but it's an option. 1 copy of So Cute Boss. She's neat, but you don't use her that often. And then 2 copies of Dullahan. Dullahan's the one that you summon the most of the time and attack your opponent with. He gains 200 attack for each Ghostrick card you control, and then during either player's turn, or once per turn during either player's turn, you can detach a material from him, and then target a monster your opponent controls, and its attack becomes half until the end phase of the turn. And if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target Ghostrick in your graveyard and add it back to your hand, which is really helpful. For the Link monsters we're playing a single copy of Boral Sword to OTK. If you do get the option, you can summon this extremely easily. 1 copy of Unicorn to bounce stuff. Phoenix to pop spells and traps, Cerberus to pop monsters, and then 2 Wee Witches because everything in the main deck is dark. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed this one. It's super fun to just kind of stall out your opponent. This deck is really, really funny because it's just like the ultimate troll deck that you're just trying to mill your opponent. You're not even trying to attack them. You're just trying to mill them out with skeletons and your morphing jars and stuff like that. I've also thought about putting Trickstar Reincarnation in this deck, where you just flip the reincarnation and then banish their entire hand, and then they draw more. Like, I've really thought about going that route as well with Morphing Jar, but I don't know yet. I kind of wanted to focus more on, playing a couple of tech cards in here and more focusing on the Ghostrick. So, anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Hit the bell in there so you can come part of the notification squad. Definitely tell me what you think of this video down in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See you around, guys.